Hi, I'm Jason Pierce. I'm a personal trainer. Today I want to talk to you about how juggling can help your brain. So not just juggling, but some new studies have shown that different activities that involve the brain and the body working together but in sort of opposition are really good for brain health as we age. Dementia, Alzheimer's, various forms of diseases like that hit a lot of people as they age. And scientists are still trying to figure out causes of a lot of these, but there's a lot of new studies out there with some really promising results. So juggling, for example, because it's complicated, because it's not something that just uses your dominant hand, it's using both your hands and you're having to do a pattern that is, frankly, it's not easy. So my goal was actually to juggle while I did this entire video. Obviously, I was not able to do that. I was barely able to do it for the intro that I did. Yeah, but there's been some recent studies about juggling and some other things. So in particular, in our brains, the hippocampus, which got its name in kind of an interesting way. So if you were to cut your brain open, and obviously don't do that, it's far better to cut someone else's brain open because then you could actually see it, and look at the hippocampus, you would see that it resembles a hippopotamus going to college. What? No? No. Okay, so, no, sorry, it does not, nothing about hippos. Apparently, hippo is Greek for horse. Okay, so what it looks like is a horse at college. No, it looks like a seahorse. Hippo, seahorse, okay? Let me just look at a picture of this thing. Doesn't look like a seahorse. Looks like a xenomorph from Alien. The xenomorphic campus? Regardless of how it got its name, the hippocampus is a very important part of the brain. As we age, it tends to shrink. And if it's healthier, if it's more dense, if there's more going on there, it appears to be an indicator of less potential for dementia and other diseases of the brain. So we want to keep that healthy. Exercise itself actually seems to do that. Just all the stimulation of muscle and muscle growth stimulates the brain to also grow. But recent studies have shown that things that are not necessarily exercise, like juggling, is great for it because of the hand-eye coordination portion, stimulates the brain and stimulates the brain to grow. Okay, so what if you can't juggle or just juggling is too hard for you? You know what else works? Magic. That's right. Being able to manipulate cards or other objects also stimulates the same pathways as juggling. Again, there's a lot of complex movements happening that your brain has to rewire itself in order to understand how to do. Okay, so juggling and magic, but what if you don't want to be made fun of? I'm kidding. I like juggling and magic. Guess what? Dancing is a good way to do the same thing. Now, not just like going out and thrashing about on the dance floor kind of randomly, although that's good exercise, but dancing in a structure where you have to repeat something. So like line dancing or ballroom dancing or any structured dance that you actually have to repeat a pattern and maybe do that in a way that you're not expecting. That stimulates the brain in the same way. Yoga is another one. If you go into a yoga class and you have to repeat the pattern of what you just did over a long stretch of moves, it's another one that will stimulate the same pathways. Tai Chi, martial arts in general, the same thing. When I was studying martial arts years ago, we learned our forms, and then as we got closer to being a black belt, our instructor made us do the forms in reverse. So starting with the last move and going back to the first in reverse. Do the mirror imaged. So if you started going to the left, you had to start going to the right. Do them with your eyes closed. And then sometimes I'll like combine those. And let me tell you, that just was a brain workout trying to do that. You know, your body was sort of used to the moves, but having to force yourself to do them in a completely different way was pretty awesome. So things like that really stimulate the brain. Learn a musical instrument, even simple chords on a guitar. one hand is doing one thing, the other hand is doing something else, and your brain is having to figure out how to make them both work together. Throw in singing with that, and that's a third thing you're dealing with that, again, keeps your brain stimulated. All of these activities encourage neuroplasticity, which is the ability of the brain to modify itself through activities. Learning a foreign language, again, musical instruments, ballroom dancing, juggling, magic. A task that is difficult, that involves not just your brain but your body. These things are great for keeping our brains healthy. And again, working out also stimulates growth in the hippocampus and general brain health. So learning hobbies like this, in addition to having a regimented workout program, are key for keeping our brains healthy as we age. So as usual, if you found any of this interesting or any of my other videos interesting, please like and subscribe. Helps the channel out. Tell your friends if you find this interesting. Maybe leave a comment. Doesn't have to be anything important. Just a comment's great. And as always, thank you for joining me for this video, and stay healthy.